Hey, 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 everybody. Zeus here with Sounds and Grounds coming at you for season 2 of the Madcap Sessions. I'm so happy to have my co-pilot and co-host, Mr. Jack Costo, back in action. How you doing today, Jack? From
I'm good. I'm still recovering a little bit from the last tour,
yeah,
tired, but it's good to be home, good to be back on
yeah.
camera, talking to cool people.
On more cameras, from mixing mastering hell to video starring in roles, and now back in the Sounds and Ground sessions. So we also have a special guest today as Melody Schoenfeld from the West Coast, the other coast, California, Southern California. Hey Melody, how you doing today?
I'm good. I'm actually in Chicago right now.
Oh, wow,
That
Chicago.
explains
Okay.
the weather.
Yeah, I live in
Yeah.
LA, but I'm here for business this week.
Oh, right on. Very cool. So real quick, if anyone's watching, all million of you watching, don't know who Melody is, I could literally just run down the list of her accolades and it would probably take 30, 45 minutes of things she's into and done and is doing. Um, she's a vocalist. She sings for Ed Force One, which is a cool maiden tribute band. She also sings an original hard rock band, SD17, which I believe is in New Mexico, where that band's based.
Albuquerque, yep.
Yeah. I was strange to be like, oh, there's not much metal in Albuquerque that I know of. But
Yeah,
anyway,
there's actually a pretty big scene. You'd be surprised.
yeah, I'd
Hmm.
imagine it's just so hot there to do anything. Our instruments are built in outside of Phoenix, and it's just I
Yeah.
couldn't imagine band practice in the desert. Like, how does
I
that?
mean, I live in LA, so it's not that different.
Oh, well, yeah, yeah, but
Yeah.
sometimes the ocean, I think, brings you a little relief periodically that you don't get
Oh,
maybe.
I'm nowhere near the ocean.
Oh no, where are you based at?
I'm in Pasadena.
Oh, okay, okay. Um,
Yeah.
I think I read that somewhere, but old.
Yeah, I wish I was near the ocean. That sounds really nice and a lot cooler.
Yeah. So just a few other things. I'll drop some science on everyone. I actually found out about you. Well, two different sources. One, all the plant-based and vegan online resources showed this 5 foot tall power lifter that was breaking records and was a record holder and probably still has some records at this point. It was an awesome interview. And then a little more research, I saw you were a singer and an author as well. And we have a mutual acquaintance, which is Kirsten Rosenberg from the
Kirsten,
Iron Maidens.
yeah.
She was like, she's an awesome choice to have on the show. She's like, very, very good choice to have. So,
Love me some Kirsten.
yeah, if she vouches for you, I'm like, all right, cool. I'm going to reach out and see what's down. But Melody, let me shut the F up for right now, and I'll give you the floor. You're welcome to, introduce yourself, cover the background. We do have a little over half dozen, maybe a dozen or so questions we'll kind of go over. And
All right.
I'll sort of try to break it down because again, there's so many things. You're author. You also do physical training, CSCS, if I believe that's right. Medicinal medical assistant. I don't know. I'm trying to remember these acronyms, as well as singing in the band, and as well as your powerlifting and physical strength capability. So we can hit these things and just kind of roll through it, but the floor is kind of yours, and I'm going to take a sip of beverage right now.
Do it. Make it happen. Yeah, well, let's see. Well, you kind of covered a lot of it. I am a musician. I've kind of been a musician since I was little, before I knew what that actually meant. And I kind of fell into bands. Like I was a musical theater person. And when I moved to LA, well, when I moved to Chicago, I lived in Chicago for a while. And when I moved here, I kind of met up with a guitar player who wanted to do acoustic stuff at coffee shops. And he liked the stuff that I was writing. So we would we would just kind of be a duo going to coffee shops for a little while. And then I came to LA and I fell into this like cover band thing that was playing a lot of hair metal, which is kind of my jam. I love me some hair metal. And that kind of got me started in the whole cover band thing, which I didn't at the time realize was such a big thing, but it's a big thing. And then it's funny because when the Iron Maidens were looking for a singer, I didn't know anything about it. And someone in my band at the time was like, "Oh, you should audition for the Iron Maidens." I was like, "I can't sing Maiden. What are you talking about?" So I didn't. When I'm glad I didn't, because I wouldn't have wanted to compete against Kirsten. She's awesome. But then I kind of fell into this. I was dating someone for a while, which we won't talk about that. But I was dating someone for a while who was
We
playing
all have
in this,
stories.
yeah. He was playing in this, he was starting this, getting started in a mating tribute that was just getting off the ground called Dead Horse One. And he's like, "Oh, you should sing for it." And I was like, "I can't sing Maiden. What are you talking about?" And they brought me in and I sang Maiden. And I've been singing Maiden ever since, which is pretty cool. And then I was in a Celtic rock band up until last year. It's just kind of a bummer because it was a great band. It's just I was the only one kind of doing anything with it. Everyone else was kind of, I guess, just kind of took a back seat. We used to play Fremont Street every St. Patty's Day, and we played a lot of Scottish festivals and stuff, and that was a lot of fun, I thought. But and I kind of got found by this project called SD17 in Albuquerque. They started as a recording project in over the pandemic, and they had singers in Europe because it's just a recording project. You could do that, no problem. And then when they started performing, the people in Europe couldn't come down here or didn't want to. I don't know if they didn't want to, if they couldn't, or what it was, but they didn't want to come down, or however it worked. And they were looking for another singer, and they sent me a message through this musician website, and I never checked that website. And then one day I decided to check the website. It was like 3 months after they sent me a message, and I was like, "Oh shit, this is like the project I want to be in. I wonder if they're still looking." So I wrote him back. I was like, "I'm so sorry, I never checked these messages. Are you still looking for a singer?" And he's like, "Actually, yes. And I can come up and see." So he came up and hung out with me in my gym. We talked for a while and it went really well. And he said, "I'll get back to you." And then I didn't hear from him for like several months. And I was like, "Well, I guess that didn't happen." And then they called me last year, like, I think in August, and they were like, "Hey, you still interested in this?" And I was like, "Yes." And that was that. So I've been with them ever since. It's my dream project. It's great music. I get to write. I get to be creative. I love everybody in my band. Everybody's just super cool. There's no stress. We're working on touring right now. We've got 2 shows in Colorado, which I'm excited about, although it'd be nice if they were in the same week, but they're not. But I'm excited. It's really fun.
Awesome. And you just had a couple singles come out this year as well, right?
We did. Yeah, we're trying to put one out every 4 to 6 weeks. The next one that's coming out might take a little bit longer because we're still finishing it up. But yeah, we're trying to put them out like pretty regularly this year, and at the end of the year we'll have an album out.
Cool.
Yeah.
Now, are you writing these songs as you go, or you have a full album, you just are releasing it song at a time?
We're releasing the songs one at a time. The album is going to have all of these songs and probably a few extra as well.
Right on. Cool.
Yeah.
So I searched for this and didn't find an answer. What is SD17? I'm sure you get asked that.
So the guitar player, Tim, is the one it's his band, and he's the one who named it. And it's basically his old band had SD as the initials. And then 17, I believe, was the year he started this project. No, couldn't have been. 17 was a year of something. It was something with a year. It's meaningful to Tim, and I'm forgetting what it was now.
This is Singer 101. You have to know what your band's name means, or have a good answer.
So I do know. I just forgot.
Right on. That's okay. I thought it might have been like a chemical combination or initials for something.
I
But,
mean, that sounds really
like
good too.
WD-40.
right.
Sloth,
Or like Eve
sloth
6.
domination.
Yeah, where you just you stick a number at the end of the name because that's like the cool trendy thing in pop and rock music is
The
something
17th time the sloths have dominated.
with a number, right? Or I was like, well, maybe someone's from South Dakota and it's 17 degrees. I don't know.
That could, that sounds good too.
You need a Patreon. You need a Patreon if you don't have one, and say, hey, fans, give us your best interpretation of what this means.
I like it. I like it.
There you
Not a
go.
bad, you know what? That's not a bad idea. I might steal that.
Yeah, you can have it as no theft. Ah, bless you. You have been blessed by
Thank you.
the lightning god with
There's
hammer.
always one per Zoom meeting.
Right. Mine are the silent but deadly sneezes that luckily you don't have to experience.
It's all the sloth fur.
The sloth apparently is our theme of the podcast today. So let's
It's a good theme.
Let's see how many times we can work sloth into the conversation.
I am a sloth fan, so I have no problem with this.
Yeah, you had posted, I believe, I don't think you were at a zoo, but you were like in nature with sloths live.
It's a wildlife sanctuary in LA, and they have a bunch of animals that can't be released in the wild.
Right.
So there's a sloth there, and every time I see the sloth, I just weep a little bit.
Oh
yeah.
Yeah.
Be like, sloth, I will cry for you. Don't cry. Yeah, things being what they are, abhorrently against zoos, but when it's an animal that can't be released, like we work with a lot of indigenous wildlife rescues in Virginia, and they have what's called educational animals. So like there's people that rehab like bald eagles and screech owls and all these things that are either endangered or protected species. But if they can't hunt and survive in the wild to get permission, the federal government's like, okay, well, this is an educational animal, so you can keep them in captivity and feed them and literally go out and be like, well, here's a bald eagle live in person and learn about them. And they're little side note, they're the perfect representation of America, because I have a friend that he's one of the most well-known licensed eagle rehabbers on the East Coast. And he's like, they're really lazy. They don't want to go out really and hunt on their own. They sort of want to they're almost like vultures in that they want something that's already dead or something that's injured. And they go, because a lot of them that come to his rehab get hit in traffic because they're eating roadkill. But he's like, yeah, they're just big, lazy, like they're proud, but they're lazy. I'm like, that's the perfect bird. Who picked that for us?
That's the best American symbol right there.
My favorite bald eagle fact is that the cry that we associate with them, that you hear in a movie, the bald eagle, like the big, loud, proud thing, is actually some other kind of bird. Yeah,
it's a hawk.
They actually sound like really wimpy and tiny and weird.
Yeah. I have a friend who does wildlife rescue, animal rescue in general. She runs like a reptile sanctuary, but she ends up rescuing all these other animals. And she has this great picture. I want to say it's an eagle. I might be wrong, but it's some kind of giant bird of prey that she rescued out of like a bus that they used for. Who was it? Was it the Doobie Brothers? I think it was the Doobie Brothers. It was like in the Doobie Brothers bus somehow that she got it out. And it's the coolest. Like nobody has that story.
Yeah, that's crazy. I didn't know the Doobie Brothers even still had a bus. That's pretty amazing.
They still have a bus. It's in Texas somewhere. If I'm getting all the facts right, which I'm probably not.
It's totally fine. We can research it and put some links in the bottom. Say, check this out. Hopefully it's documented on YouTube somewhere.
Lumpy Lizard Reptile Sanctuary. Her name is Jessica, and she's amazing. And everyone should donate to her sanctuary because she's amazing, and nobody knows about her sanctuary, and they don't have enough money. So I know a lot of people with sanctuaries like that. So if you have money and you want to give it to people, she's a good one.
Yeah. For one, you're helping them. for two, it is tax deduction in a lot of places. Check with your accountant. I'm no specialist, but check with your accountant. So it's twofold. It's like somebody's doing this thing to help another species because they can. You can support them because not everybody can go out, and a lot of people that are rehabbers, you have to be licensed. You can't just go and be like, oh, I rescue, electric eels and dolphins or giraffes. It's like, no, it's like a whole process to do this correctly. One, for the animal safety, and two, to be legal. But you can throw them a couple bucks, 5, 10, whatever. Like I try to work with as many rescues as I can, to help them with just a few dollars here and there. We do special products.
100%.
Or, it gets the word out that, that's what we're about. That's what I'm about. And I want to help as many animal supporters and things that I can.
Absolutely.
And then too, it lets people know that there's stuff out here. And if you're maybe interested in it, you can look into it for yourself, because the whole rescue community as a whole needs more people. Because 90% of the time, the problems that we come across with animals are caused by people, or people are directly related to that. So we need more people to like help the community and really bond together to do as much as we can. You can't save all of them. You try to save as many as you can. But more people means less workload for everyone. That's a really good segue for us to get into where I initially discovered you, was on a plant-based news website. So as well as being an animal supporter, you're a power lifter and vegan and an author, and all that is combined. And I did read or see an interview where you were getting a master's.
I got my master's several years ago.
I definitely have a whole section of questions and things to ask you. In a nutshell, is you play in a band, you do some touring. You're also a fitness expert and nutritionalist. Are there some things you can kind of suggest? Because, Jack's on the road at least half the year. A lot of people that watch our stuff here, all musicians, I'd say 75% musicians. Some things that you can just, people need to get your books and learn more, but to stay in shape, to eat right on the road, even if someone's not plant-based or vegan, how to make the right choices as a musician, because, I look at musicians like it's the most grueling athlete you could be, because you take any sport, you play your sports game for 30 minutes, 45 minutes, maybe hour and a half with 3 breaks. If you're into hockey or, football or something like that. A musician is going out every night.
Every night.
They're not sleeping in the 5-star hotel. They don't have catering. They're doing 30 minutes, 45, go up the scale time every day, probably sleeping on a bus, in an RV or van. And having to put out that same energy like every day for, like in Jack's case, 17 shows in 24 days in Europe, So having someone that's certified like yourself, very important to me, that I know you can make suggestions and recommendations that a lot of people could take to heart and learn from,
Well, first and foremost, and it's not, look, when you're touring, it's, or whatever, because I used to travel I still do travel. I do a lot of public speaking and stuff. So I'm all over the place, and your situation is going to be very different than that, because you get to be in a hotel. So when that's happening, I just walk everywhere. I walk as much as humanly possible. But when you're touring, it's a different animal, because you don't get to get up that much. You're in the freaking bus. So if you can get up, even, like if the bus could pull over sometimes, whenever the bus pulls over for a bathroom break, get up, stretch, walk around, run around, do something to get your body moving. Don't sit for very long periods of time. If you can even just move in your seat, if you're just sitting for really long periods of time, it kind of jacks your limbs up and your spine up. So even if you just move in your seat to switch positions a lot, that's going to make a big difference to help prevent pain. And then as far as nutrition is concerned, it depends on what your situation is. If you're pulling over for restaurants, that's one thing. If you're taking food with you, it's another. If you're pulling over for restaurants, I generally always look for the thing that has the most vegetables in it. I look for the thing that has the least amount of fats in it because I don't want anything like super heavy and dense. So I look for things that are steamed or poached, things that have a lot of veggies. Ideally, something that has a protein in it. But vegan proteins are not easy to come by on the road unless you're pulling over somewhere and like intentionally going somewhere. And if none of that works, then you bring stuff with you that's easy to travel with. So there's some fruits and veggies that are relatively easy to travel with. So things like baby carrots, things like that come in a peel, like the little oranges, you know, the little clementines, things like that. Apples, like hard fruit. Kiwis travel pretty well, but they're messy, which is a problem. And then I hate bananas, but you can take bananas. But bananas are the worst fruit ever. Nobody should be allowed to eat bananas. Bananas ruin everything they touch. No, okay, so bananas and grapefruit.
Why
Why
are you a hater on the bananas?
Because they suck. And not only
section are raging now.
And so not only do bananas and grapefruit suck, they ruin everything they touch because everything they touch tastes like them. And not only are bananas bad, but they make banana noises. And banana noises are the worst noises. So everything about bananas is just bad. It's bad.
What are banana noises?
Yeah.
Have you ever heard someone eat a banana?
I can go get one real quick and we can.
No, please, no, don't do it. Don't do it. They make these noises. Next time he eats a banana, listen to him. And that's your banana noise. I'm telling you. Banana noises.
But
they're awful.
Like one of those things that I know I don't want to notice. So that I can I can know I won't be able to unhear it. So I need to just stay ignorant.
I mean, is it like an animal screaming because you're murdering it, like, or is it the peel?
No, it's like
sound.
It's like those amplified mouth noises. Like,
oh, you know what? You have that condition where certain sounds like makes you ill. I know this is big, crazy, long, technical, scientific name.
Yeah.
But like it's like when someone's chewing, their mouth is open. It's like a condition where
mouth
you're like,
noises.
I want to really hurt this person. But I would think all fruits and things you eat make noises. It's just very particular.
No, but it's just specifically bananas because they're
about
soft.
plantains. Are plantains also in the banana family?
Well, no, you don't eat a plantain like a banana. That's the difference because they're usually sliced.
Okay. So it's not the banana you hate, it's the presentation of it becoming edible. So
and they taste bad. They don't taste good.
Okay. There's no recovering. You just hate on the bananas.
Not a banana fan.
That's fine. I mean, I've never really had dragon fruit. I wouldn't say I hate it, but I just don't like the way it looks. And same with like pomegranates. I'm like, it looks like the inside.
Pomegranates, they're good, but they're a lot of work.
I don't hate them. I just like
they're just a lot of work.
I have a phobia. The way they look, it's just like you're popping these little bubbles if you eat it.
They're like the boba of fruit.
Well, don't get me started. I'm like the Karate Kid on the boba. I'll like spin kick that stuff right into the stratosphere. Like who invents this?
Wow.
You know, it's California. Who invents this stuff? I will throw some shade on some boba. Ugh.
I think it came from Taiwan, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, it's definitely some kind of Asian roots.
Yeah,
I should be all about it, but nope, no thanks. There's stuff from there that is in my heritage. I should be like, oh yeah, I'm all about that.
That's your banana. Nope. There you go. Everybody has their banana. That's your banana.
Right on. Well, when you're traveling, all right, like here's an example. I went to a hockey game and my vegan meal was alcohol and French fries. How many days in a row is that bad where you really need to get real food? And what's kind of your go-to when you go someplace? It's like you're like, do you have anything vegan? They're like, we got cheese pizza. like I've had people tell me that going places.
Mhm.
What's kind of your go-to? Like I have to, yeah, I know, right? Actually it was at IKEA. They told me this because they just had these vegan dogs come out that are amazing. You should follow me on Instagram. You'll see them. But they're the guys like, I was like, you know what? Y'all need a vegan pizza. He's like, oh, we got vegan pizza right here. I'm like, what are you talking about? He's like, right here, this cheese pizza. I was like, that's
Not
cheese,
vegan.
dude. Like, come on.
Mm.
And he was like a chef. He had the hat and everything.
Yep.
So I know he was legit.
Yeah.
I'm like, no, don't tell people that. But circling back here because it's storytelling time here at Sounds Ground. Like, what's your go-to? Like, you go somewhere, are you the meme incarnate where it's like, yep, this is what I'm having and it's fine, or it's Jason Momoa drinking vodka because that's the vegan option at the party?
Well, I don't drink alcohol either, but I usually just like keep protein bars in my bag, or a lot of times I'll eat before I go somewhere because I just never assume there's going to be something for me to eat at places. And a lot of times if there is something for me to eat at a place, it's not worth the calories it has for me.
Right.
like if it's going to be fries, it's going to make me feel really like weighed
Awesome,
down.
amazing. Oh,
Yeah.
no, that's something
Well,
different.
so me and fried food, like fried food doesn't sit well with me. Like I feel like really like bloated and gross when I eat it, so I just stay away from it. It tastes really good, but it just like doesn't sit well.
Yeah.
So I can't just like have some fries and call it a day because I feel awful after. So I'm more like I'll just eat before and not worry about it,
Right.
or have something on me and just have that.
Yeah. Do you feel that's like you're just at this point with your fitness regimen, you're just such a fine-tuned machine? It's like putting diesel in the radiator of a car. Like you cannot mix these things. Don't do that, by the way.
Sounds like a
I just
terrible
know
idea.
I mean, I don't have anything against like whatever fried food or what. I don't have anything against it. I just
right.
if it doesn't make me feel good, I don't really want to eat it. And fried food and me, like if it's really oily or heavy, like I have a really sensitive stomach, and so if it's really heavy or oily, I just don't feel good, and I can't perform like that.
Right.
So I need to feel good if I'm gonna perform. And so to me, like I eat on the healthier, kind of lighter side, but it also tastes really good to me. And it's not like I'm like, oh, this is a health food, and so I need to have the health. No, it's like that just makes my body feel better. And it tastes better to me. I do like a good dessert, but it has to be a good dessert because a lot of them look a lot better than they taste.
Yeah.
And then like donuts always look better than they taste. Like they look amazing, and then I have a bite and I'm like, like it's fine. I don't need a whole one. So yeah.
Right on. Now let's get a little bit into what you do as a power lifter, because I'm always amazed when I see power lifters that are plant-based. I mean, I know I've been doing this years and years, I think going on 8 years, being as true to vegan as I physically have a choice to be. I would never purposefully use an animal product, eat an animal product, but to be honest, sometimes you just don't know. And if you don't catch it, it's just like, what do I do?
Yeah.
But how did you kind of fall into powerlifting? Because let's be honest, you think powerlifter, it's like half Thor, like strongman, who I know you met because there's a picture of you with him.
It did.
Are you just naturally strong? Like, were you like, 3 years old and lifted the car up when they were changing the tire, like Superman, Kal-El style? Or how did you sort of progress into the powerlifting aspect?
Well, I actually stopped powerlifting in 2016, and I went from there into strongman. So I do strongman and grip sport now. Yeah.
What's the difference there? I honestly, I don't know what's the difference.
So powerlifting is three basic lifts. It's a deadlift, it's a squat, and it's a bench press. And strongman changes every event. Like every time there's a competition, it's different. So it could be anything from like pulling a truck to lifting a truck to
things with trucks.
No, there's like a car deadlift. There's like all these weird bars and implements and stuff. So it could be anything really. It's usually some kind of a lifting medley, some kind of a loading medley, or some kind of an overhead medley, and then all of these other feats of strength. And then I do grips, like arm lifting, grip sport, things like that, feats of grip strength. So it's like a Saxon bar, which is like a 3x4 rectangle. You have to pick it up like this. Or like there's a lot of one-handed lifts that are like hard to pick up, and rolling handled implements. It just, and that one evolves too. Like it's all the competitions are different. So that's mostly what I do. But I didn't grow up athletic at all. I grew up in a family where it was like you read books, and then you go to Harvard, and then you marry someone who went to Harvard, and then you have kids and they will go to Harvard. Like that's what happened in my family. It's like, especially girls, like girls don't do sports, they read books, period, the end. And I read books. I love, big fan of books. I did do dance because you were supposed to be cultured. And then I had to audition for the 6th grade play, and I ended up getting cast as a lead. It was like Joseph of the Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat, and I was Joseph because I was all androgynous back then. And that's kind of where the music part of things went off. But then like the dance helped that aspect of things because I was doing a lot of musicals. And so I stuck with that. And then I went to college and did more dance classes. And I would go to the campus gym because it existed, but I didn't know what I was doing. You know, I got a C in weightlifting in college. That was the school that was the class I got the lowest score in any class I ever took. I was a dean's list every year except the year I did weightlifting. And then when I got out of college, it was kind of like, I want to be a musician. What do I do with my life? I was an education major. I knew I didn't want to be a teacher. And so I was like, I got to do something. So I just started taking random jobs. So I worked at an advertising agency. I was an advertising like assistant account executive. That sucked a whole lot. And then I left that.
Love
and
me
then
some
I was
advertising. Mad
yeah.
Men.
Oh, there
Sorry.
you go.
I love me some
Nice.
Mad Men.
Nice. I've never seen it.
Yeah. Oh, the show.
Yeah, I've never seen it.
It's very period correct for how men acted in the 60s era of society.
Such
So
garbage men. Got it.
Yes. But I'm of the school that's like, well, if you don't understand this stuff and see how things happen, you're going to repeat it if you don't know what it is and understand it. So, and I think that's something that resonated with a lot of people, because like my wife loves the show too. Like we're like team John Hamm all the way. Like that's the only Hamm that I'll imbibe in is John Hamm.
Love it.
But hey, you know, you kind of have to look at, and we're older, so we know that's how society, like we grew up like 80s and people still acted that way, shitty, misogynist.
Yeah.
But you kind of accept that because that's what happened. We can't change what happened. We also can't judge it by today's standards because it's different. You have to look at it in a bubble, you know, and say, well, this is what it is, but what about this story can I take away from? Like their advertising things they go through, like I use that in my daily business, like how they came up with ideas and stuff. And it was written and researched really well and awesome. I know you're like, I was in advertising. You don't want to create a branch of the timeline about advertising, but
no, it's all good.
It kind of falls into that category of like, you can use these things in life every day that
for sure
came from that era of time.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Back to you. You're like, I don't want to do that shit. Let's pick something cool.
No. Well, so like, advertising, like I was the only person, because I never drank alcohol. I just don't like it. And I was the only person there who was like not drunk by lunchtime. And it was just kind of a weird environment. So it was not for me. And then
writing that down, you can be drunk at lunchtime.
Apparently, yeah, take the advertising, do it, man. And then I went into
being a musician where you're drunk from midnight to dawn.
I just watch people be drunk. No, I got a job at a law firm, and it was an entertainment law firm. And in my genius little head, I was like, oh, I work at a law firm. I can meet musicians, and maybe I can get my musician career. Like in my head, this is how that works. It doesn't work like that, in case you're wondering. So they put me like on the bottom floor, and everything happened on the top floor. And every time, every day at lunch, I got to go up to the top floor and answer phones at lunchtime. That was like my exciting thing. And the most exciting thing that happened was one day I picked up the phone and it was Run from Run DMC. And I know it was Run from Run DMC because he said, hi, this is Run from Run DMC. So that was pretty cool. And that was really exciting. And the lawyers at this firm didn't have anything to do. So what they did was they bought little rubber clowns at the dollar store, and they played rubber clown golf over my head, just hitting them and hitting the wall over my head with these things. So that was a good time. So I got out of there pretty fast. But you know, the whole time, and then I was a computer consultant, but the whole time I had these jobs, like I was making like $20,000 in New York City. That's going to buy you a sandwich. Maybe.
It buys you the bread part of half of a sandwich in New York.
It's like it'll buy you a bad sandwich in New York City. And my brother opened a gym. It was like a personal training center for women. And he's like, well, do you want to come work for me on the weekends? And I was like, sure. So I didn't know what I was doing. So he wrote all the programs, and I just kind of like, all right, I'll just vomit that back onto somebody. Like he showed me how to do everything, and I would just do, you know, whatever he told me, I would just tell them. And then I was like, well, I don't like talking the talk without walking the walk. So then I would take these programs and take them to the little gym, and then I would just do what was on them, or else I'd follow him around if he happened to be there and like annoy the crap out of him. Like, what are you doing? What are you doing now? And I got really into it because it was like I was tangibly changing people's lives. Like it was like an obvious change for the better in their lives because I was part of it. And that was all I've ever wanted to do. And so I was like, I gotta keep up with this. This is kind of cool. And I was a computer consultant, and I was living in Chicago at this point. And then I kept doing this training on the side. Like whoever wanted to train with me, I would just do it for free. Like, I don't care, like come to the gym with me, let's do it. And then September 11th happened. And my company laid off about 5,000 people. My project team was one of them. And I was like, all right, this kind of thing really makes you reevaluate your life. And I was like, all right, what do I want to do with my life, and who do I want to do it with? And at the time I was dating someone who lived in Los Angeles. We won't talk about him either. And then I was like, well, let me go there and let me do this training thing. Let me try that. And so that's how I got started. And it was only because I was doing it that I felt the need that I needed to train myself. But I started to get really into it, and people started to notice that I was lifting pretty impressive weights, and I didn't think I was, because in my head, an impressive weight is 3 times your body weight. I don't know where I got that from, but that was in my head. If you're pulling 3 times your body weight, you are officially a strong person. And I wasn't pulling 3 times my body weight. I was pulling like 2 times my body weight, or 1.5 times my body weight, but not 3. And then I met this guy named Bud Jeffries, who was he passed away a couple of years ago, unfortunately, but he was a performing strongman, and he was like, why aren't you competing? And I'm like, because I can't lift 3 times my body weight. Like, why would I compete? That's crazy. And he's like, no, you should be competing. And so he basically talked me into it. And after that, I was just kind of hooked. That was my thing. I loved it. And he taught me how to bend steel too. Like he got me into tearing phone books and bending steel. And I've been doing that ever since too.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
You obviously prefer the strongman stuff to
love it.
Any other?
I like it because it's not predictable. Like you don't always know what the events are going to be. And so you have to change your training for it every time. And so I really like that because it keeps me on my toes. So that to me, I like the variety of it. There's a lot of people who want that to be more standardized, and I don't, because I like the variety.
Wow. It seems like there's a lot of parallels between what you've done and are doing with fitness and education, changing people's lives and seeing that. It's the same as musicians, really, that are halfway decent and come up with something that's, soulful from inside them. You can always hear, to me, I can hear any music, and I'm very judgmental, but I can hear music and be like, this person is feeling what they're putting out there, you know.
Yes.
So it makes a lot of sense that you gravitated towards something that you can affect people's lives directly. Like when you're on stage and you're singing and someone starts mouthing the words back to you, you're like, yeah, that's what happened. And that's where the tribute and cover band things, I think, really make a huge impact, because like we talked about this with Kirsten, it's like, where's somebody in, say, Podunk, Idaho, actually going to see someone play a Maiden song, like legit, like good, you know? It's like, well, it's a tribute band, and a lot of the tribute, like they have over 1 million followers. I think it was 1.6 or 7 or something internationally. That's amazing, you know. So you know, certain people like yourself just want to help other people. They're, you know, teacher, nurturer kind of educators, which we can see from, you're also an author. Can you talk a little bit about the books you've written, and like, how did you go from, okay, I don't know anything about this subject, I'm going to start doing this subject, I'm going to perform as this subject, and then also I'm going to write to educate others of the subject? Because let's be honest, not all performers are teachers, and not all teachers are educators. And it seems like you just are just like boom, boom, boom across the board. So how did you get into actually writing one of, I think, 3 different books you have out now on health and fitness?
Well, I mean, nobody's born knowing things, you know. It's like you gravitate towards something and then you get really interested in it, and then you follow, like you keep following it. And for me, there's a really big need for unbiased sources on understanding vegan health, because pretty much everything out there is very biased. It has a very strong slant in, we want to make you vegan, and we're going to do it by any means possible, and we're going to do that through fear-based techniques, like everything's going to give you cancer except these vegan things, or we're going to do it through cherry picking science, things like that. And to me, it's like, if you want someone to understand you, be real with them. Don't like put your bias on stuff. Be honest about things. Be real with them. Don't try to scare somebody into something. That's how you end up with all kinds of bad things, you know. So let's just talk about, like, here's why my first book was that. It was, I want to show people how to become vegan healthfully, and I want to explain the science around it, and I want to get out of the whole mindset of, oh, you're gonna die early unless you're vegan. Like, no, it's not that. Let's talk about, if you want to be vegan, here's why I am. Here's some reasons you might want to be, and here's how to do it well if you're going to do it. And that's what that book was. And then it took me about 30 pages to do that. And then I was like, oh, I need more information. I should probably write some recipes. Let me write some recipes. So for me, that was the hardest part, because when I cook, I'm just like, nah. Like, I don't measure anything. Like, I just throw stuff in.
That's the best way. It's like painting. It's like, well, I know what these colors are, but I'm just going to start throwing them on a canvas. Like, certain people get mad at me in the house, and just friends, like, well, how do you make this? You have a recipe? I'm like, no. I'm like, most of what's in there you can see. So I can give you a list to go to the grocery store, but like, we just got a cookbook, and it's like, right off the bat, the chef is like, she's like, I don't measure stuff, because my wife's looking at the book, and she's like, there's no measurements. And she's the opposite. She wants to measure. She's like, 8 ounces of this, 6 tablespoons of this, blah, blah, like, exactly. And she'll get mad at me. It's like, I didn't measure any of that. I just throw the stuff in there until I think it might taste good, and that's that. But you know, we lost you.
What?
Lost your video. Oh, there you are.
There I am. Okay.
I was like, the tech gremlins, the tech sloths have come for your phone. Yeah. So that what's the name of your first book that you wrote? Because I'll put these.
That was called. That was called Pleasure Not Meeting You, MEAT. I wish I was the one who came up with that, because that's my sense of humor. But my friend came up with that name. He was very smart. So that was my first book, and then from that book, I knew someone in a publishing company, you know, just kind of through my certifying agency. And he came up to me at one of the conferences and he was like, "So I saw you wrote this book." I was like, "Yeah." And I self-published it because I was like, nobody wants this book. Like I just want it out there. And so I put it out there, not expecting anything would come out of it. And he was like, "I saw you wrote that book. What else you got?" And I was like, "Well, I'm actually just finished writing my next book because I was going to self-publish. I just never figured anybody wanted my books. I just wanted to write them. So I had just finished writing a book about fat loss, and it was the science of fat loss. Basically, I took a bunch of very popular diets and I was like, here's why they work, here's why they don't work. Here's why, here's, or not why they don't work, but here's like some problems you might have with them. And here's the lies that they try to tell you to get you to buy into their dogma. Because a lot of, diets do that to some degree because they're making someone money somehow.
Right. Right.
And so it's basically that. And then I had a chapter on like the psychology of things, because my master's is health psychology, and I'm super interested in the mental aspect of these things. And then, just kind of a section where I took very commonly asked questions and just answered them and stuff like that. And then what I originally wanted to do was interview a bunch of well-known touring musicians and find out how they stay healthy on the road. And I had a whole section. I had interviewed all these people and I had this whole section of it. And I was really excited about it. And they were like, "Yeah, we don't want that part." So,
Really?
yeah, so that's still sitting on my computer, which is kind of a bummer, but that one
who's the they? Who's the they that the publisher didn't want that?
The publisher, yeah.
Why? Why did
they? Yeah.
Why did they?
Because I guess it wasn't like people wouldn't want that. They thought that people wouldn't want to buy that.
I mean, there's countless accounts online. Highway to Health comes to mind right off the bat.
Yeah.
Tanya O'Callahan. And
I interviewed her for this.
Derek Green, which is unfortunately on their 40th final Sepultura tour. He's one of the musicians when I first became plant-based and was learning about vegans, because long story short, I was vegetarian for a couple years, and I was basically scolded by so many vegan activists and PETA supporters. Nothing against them, but at the time, that fear tactic, and I talk about this a lot.
Yes.
I was like, I don't want to ever be what you're telling me, because it's not about the animals. It's just about you pointing a finger and looking down your nose at anyone that's you don't think is as good as you. And I fight that every day. It's like the meme where it's like, what's the difference between a vegan and vegetarian? Or as a comedian has this bit, what's the difference between a vegan and a vegetarian? It's like, oh, a vegetarian has friends, And I was like, I don't want friends, so I'm gonna be a vegan. So, when I was lucky, I woke up one morning, it was Thanksgiving 2017. I was like, I can't eat meat anymore. I know I can do this. I did it for 2 years, regardless of what people tell me. But I want the next step, because the more I learned about dairy, and I tell people that now, it's like, if you want to take the right steps to being plant-based and ultimately vegan, which I explained, to me, vegan's not a diet. And I know it gets thrown around that way and people have different opinions, but it's that I'm against animal cruelty, animal exploitation, that whole thing, because like, well, can you eat honey? Can you do eggs and all this blah, blah, blah stuff? And then I get in and explain without getting angry and without scolding them for doing it. One, this is something I'll try to condense this a little bit for your story. And you have the medical science to maybe prove this or debunk it. I honestly think the addiction of food is like a heroin or a drug, things I've read, and people will defend their right to imbibe in this substance, be it food, drugs, alcohol, whatever. Like, they'll defend it to the death, because in their mind, that addiction has such a hold, they can justify it, that it's okay to do and things like that. Is there science to that, in your opinion? Like, if you come across that as a nutritionist and knowing psychology as well?
there's a lot of debate in the nutrition world as to whether or not there is that there's an addictive quality of certain types of foods, sugar mainly being the big one. And I believe most people would say no. And obviously it's not the same as crack. I've seen a crack addict. This ain't crack. But I can also tell you that I used to eat sugar out of the bag with a spoon if there was no sugar, if there was nothing sweet in my house. I used to pour myself a glass of maple syrup. Like, that's not normal behavior.
No.
And so to me, like, I err on the side of, yeah, I do feel like there is an addictive quality to it. When I stopped, like I went 4 months with nothing so that I could reset my taste buds. And I literally had to like sit on my hands to keep myself from getting up and going out and buying more. And that's not normal. So to me, that's like, yeah, there's an addictive quality to some types of food. I don't think all types of food. I think it's a different thing. I think it's a very like, you are moralizing us. You're pushing your religion on us. And that's taking away from my freedom. And I'm going to fight back. That's what, like, to me, that's what that mentality is. It's like, you're like, I'm manly and I'm better than you because I eat meat. Why don't you just eat meat and call it a day, you pussy? Like, that's what that is to me. It's less of an addiction thing and more of a, like, this is what makes me a man.
Right.
This is what
The
makes
macho
me
mentality.
freedom. Yeah, this is what gives me my freedom. Like, like man over beast. Like it's that. And it's the same people who, like, if you post a picture of a pig that is at a rescue facility and then they're like, "Ooh, that looks delicious." Like, it's the same people,
Yeah.
And that's never been funny. It'll never be funny, but to them, it's funny. Well, okay. All right,
Right.
dude.
Ignorance is bliss, as the saying goes, it's funny that these people that fall into this macho category, it's like so universal. I mean, I know people they're just like that.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, I tried different angles with them of, well, give them a for instance of this animal. Give them a for instance of, you were a kid growing up. You had dogs, cats, whatever. Yeah, man, I had a dog. It was awesome. Like, we went everywhere together. I'd take a bullet for the dog. I'm like, well, that dog's not different from a cow. Actually, a cow's probably smarter. Same as a dolphin. Same as fish being able to remember places that they go, from salmon swimming up. Like, you give all these examples to people, but then that hammer comes down. It's like, I'm not a man if I don't eat this. But then, you go and show them, well, here's Patrick Baboon, like one of the strongest people on the planet. It's like, is that not a man? Because he's not eating any meat. Like,
but then when you bring up people like that, then they're like, well, they're not a champion. Like, they're not. They'll like put down their achievements and say like they're not.
I'm like,
they're not
here's world's strongest man, 2019. So the whole world is wrong. He's not the strongest.
Yeah.
Or here's the new one. I get this a lot. Oh, it's steroids. And I'm like, well, people use steroids and eat meat too. Like, you don't look like Mr. Olympia just eating protein,
just from
like
steroids.
Whey protein.
Yeah.
And they have synthetic steroids. So I have no problem with a vegan using synthetic steroids. They're synthetic. So it's not animal based.
Yeah.
I don't care. Yeah. They're doing what they want to their bodies.
Do what you want, dude.
Harming an animal, But
the other argument is, they weren't always vegan, and therefore they got their gains before they went vegan, which for a lot of them is not true. Like,
sorry, that's a new one. I haven't heard that yet, but I'll put that in the vault. Be like, well, somebody's gonna say this to you. Do you have like a go-to? Like, I know you come across people. It's like, there's just no way to get through to this person. Like, when you push away, like, do you have a closing argument, or like, what do you say when it's like, I've done all I can, this person's just so ingrained in the programming, let's say. I'm curious, just for me, like, what's your closing line? It's like,
I don't argue with people for the most part. Like, if every once in a while I'll see someone say something online that irritates me enough that I respond, but I always respond with science. I'm like, listen, I'm very calm. I don't try to like talk down anybody. I don't try to yell at anybody. I'm like, listen, you said this. Here's what the facts are. Here's the science. Here's how I'm backing that up. Let me know your thoughts. And usually they say, fuck your science and move on.
Right.
But to me, like trying to argue with somebody who does not want to change their mind it's an exercise in banging your head against a brick wall. Like if you want to set your entire identity as like making fun of other people, including vegans or whoever you assume to be lesser than you, good for you. You know, like I don't need to associate with you. So that's cool. If you want to know about like veganism, if you're curious about it, cool. But I'm not going to spend my time with people, wasting my time arguing with somebody who simply is arguing for the sake of something that doesn't affect them anyways. Like me not eating meat doesn't affect you, dude. Like you do you, okay? So
yeah, you save it for the gym and it's like bar of steel just
yeah. I don't understand why it's such a like what people get so in their heads around shit that doesn't affect them. Like, why do you care what I eat, dude? Like, why do you care? I don't bother you about what you eat. You don't bother me.
Well, it's not just food. That's like the tip of the iceberg. We could go down society today. Like, what person A do with their body? Why do you have to have a say over what?
Why do you care? Like, it's not bother. It's not harming anyone. Like,
you know,
deal with it. You're fine. Live your life.
It's crazy. That should be a book and a movie and maybe a mini series. Is like, hey, let's try living this way.
All this shit comes from fear. There's people who are basically like, hey, these people are different from you. You should be afraid of them. They're somehow taking away from your life. You should be afraid of them. Like, that's where it comes from. It's this indoctrinated, like, somebody is putting out a message that you should be afraid of these people. Like, they're a problem because they're not like you.
Right. Well, speaking of fear, we have a question submitted from
questions.
Interwebs.
Yay, interwebs.
So we'll move along here. I'm 100% like everything you're saying. I'm like, yeah, that's pretty much spot on. Like, how can you disagree with science? And then someone comes along and science isn't science anymore. And that's
they don't care about science. They're like, science is biased. Science is la 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 la. Like, oh my God, humans, man. That's why I spent with animals.
Yeah, pretty soon, like blue is not going to be blue anymore. You know,
not if scientists say it. No,
not going to be a tree. But do you experience as a singer or performer doing strongman competition? Is a strong person is still strongman?
Strong. Well, I don't know. I say strongman. I don't care.
Feats of strength individuals. Do you get stage fright? I'm pretty sure the answer is no. But between singing and performing as a strength individual in a contest, do you get scared? Do you like, oh, you know, what's going to happen? Because I'm sure a lot of these things are televised or covered by press and media and stuff like that.
I mean, I don't really. I would say I actually get more nervous with the strength stuff because I am not built for any of the sports I do, and I compete against people who definitely are. And so I'm always like, oh my God, like, am I just going to look like an idiot against these other people? But when has that ever bothered me before? So like,
not here, not for us, as you can tell.
I mean, so I don't really, but I'll tell you what, when I was in college, I took a public speaking class. Now I speak publicly all over the place. But when I was in college, I took a public speaking class, and I've never been so nauseatedly sick in my life. I was so nervous, and I didn't have a technique of getting over it. I was just like, well, I just got to do it. So I just did it. And then I was done. And then I was like, okay, I'm still alive. And I think just kind of, it was a matter of like, I just kept doing it. And so the stage fright went away. Like my first show that I did when I was in that musical in the 6th grade, I was terrified because I didn't think that I was any good. And I didn't know why anybody would want to hear me sing. But I was like, well, they asked me to do it, so I just have to do it. So I did it, and I just kept going. And I think that's what it is. It's like exposure therapy. You just have to just keep exposing yourself.
But
I think the thing that makes in a good way, in a happy way.
A
I think
legal
the thing that makes
way.
me exactly, it depends where you are, right? I think the thing that makes me the most nervous is that I'm always afraid I'm gonna forget the lyrics because my brain like just leaks out my ear constantly, and I'm lucky if I remember my own name. So
That's because
I'm
you're
not
vegan. That's because
because
you're
I'm vegan
vegan.
and
You have
brains
a
don't work
crappy
right.
memory.
My lack of protein is affecting my brain. No, I have terrible memory, and I'm terrible at memorizing lyrics, and I'm always afraid I'm gonna forget all the lyrics.
Well, in the original band, you can kind of ad lib, like, yeah,
I can fudge it. Nobody knows.
It's like, yeah, everybody knows the Trooper, Run to the Hills, Seventh
You know,
Son.
I've been to a lot of like great concerts, but one of the most memorable concerts I ever went to was I saw Melissa Etheridge in concert like years ago, and she's amazing live. She forgot her lyrics in the middle of the show, and I was like, this is my person. Like I understand you, and I remember that to this day. Like that was my favorite because you know what? This is how you know when you have touched people in a legal way. Is you forget your lyrics and the audience sings them for you. That was so cool.
Yeah.
So cool.
Yeah, it's one of those things we talked about with Jack before. It's like when you're on stage, is it that you want this performance to be perfect, like the album, or is it more of you're interacting with other people, with the audience that's imbibing your art in this creation that you put out there, and like we talked about before, you're changing their lives, hopefully in a good way, or
Hopefully.
in the sadcore realm of music that I've dubbed, everybody relates to a sadness. And like you said, with stage fright or being afraid, it's like you come out of it and you're like, I was horrified of this thing to happen. But 9 times out of 10, you're going to come out of it okay, and kind of build up your tolerance to that fear. I think that is what drives a lot of people with dietary choices. Go back to like square one we're talking about. It's like, well, I'm afraid if I don't do this is going to happen. For me, that was the thing. It's like, well, I don't want to get sick from this. So I have a plant-based physician that's like, you're eating too much Beyond Burger. That's your problem. You're not healthy. Because people think, oh, you're vegan. Well, you're thin and you're like pale and you don't have any strength. It's like, no, somebody's just eating incorrectly if that's the case, or that's just their build, their body, or they're gingers and don't have a soul or strength or pigment in their skin. I don't know, whatever it is. Just kind of, you have to learn these things for yourself, and it helps to have someone educated telling you why. I'll go out on a limb here and say you don't eat processed vegan food at all either for yourself.
Oh, I absolutely eat processed vegan.
Oh, you do? Oh, okay. Me? I thought
I'm a huge fan of fake meats.
The fries category, but
no, I just don't. Me and fatty food don't get along. But let me tell you something. Do you chew your food?
Do I chew it?
Uh-huh.
Unless Mama Bird drops it in the mouth for me and it's not a soup, I do chew it.
You're processing your food.
Okay.
Processing simply means you're altering it from its natural state in some way. So as soon as you take it off the tree, you're processing your food. Now, usually what people are talking about with processed food is very highly processed food, right? Which means that they've taken a bunch of ingredients and changed them somehow in order to
right they're chemically changed on a molecular level, which chewing does not do, but actually your saliva does that. So never mind.
It does change it on a
molecular level. I'm wrong. I just that I was wrong once again on camera.
But look, to me it's like, does it provide nutrition? Does it provide satiety? Is it doing what you want it to do, and does it feel good when you eat it? Those are the things that I care about. And so a lot of the vegan meats, I mean, it's the same as baking a cookie. A cookie doesn't look like milk and eggs or pancakes, I guess. Cookies don't have milk in them, right? But it doesn't look like
yeah.
They can. Okay, we'll say pancakes. All right, whatever. So pancakes don't look like milk and eggs. Like you mixed everything together and you made a thing that looks different, right? So you can say, well, I just made a processed food because now it doesn't look the same, but I mix things together. So seitan is like that.
Right. Oh yeah.
Tempeh is like that. Tempeh is like a fermented, tofu is like that. They don't look like soybeans. You process them into this other thing, but it doesn't make it unhealthy. So it depends on where you want to go with that trend of thought. If we're going down to like things that don't have any nutritive value, I eat some of that, but not very much. I don't tend to crave it. But if your goal is to maintain your current level of health, and 80% of what you eat is like on the whole foods side of the spectrum, you're eating a lot of veggies and fruits and whole grains and beans and, healthy proteins and things like that, then 20% can be ho-hos and ding-dongs and you will be perfectly fine. There's always room for ho-hos and ding-dongs. Okay. So that's my point.
Yeah.
So,
our
like
motto
a universal
here,
rule.
Yeah. Our motto, I think our last conversation was 60-40.
no, 80-20. And if you want to improve your health, it's like, 90-10.
Yeah. No, I mean, that's true for me. I experienced that 100% for myself. It's just, man, those things that you crave psychologically are so hard to stop and say no to.
They can be, and that's really like they're easy and they're comforting and you associate them with certain feelings.
Yep. Right.
If it's something that you want to stop doing, it's never going to be an easy thing to do. It has to be a conscious, I'm going to put time and space between me and that thing I'm craving, and I'm going to rethink it. And like, do I really need that right now? Is that going to make me feel the way I want to feel? Not just right now, but like an hour from now, 2 hours from now. Am I going to feel the way I want to feel? Does that fit my values right now? And if not, then I can make another choice, right? But you always have the power to make a choice around your food, even when it feels like you don't. When it feels like that urge is so strong, you're still stronger than the urge. You just have to believe that. You can always move and put your mind on something else, or learn to sit with discomfort for 20 minutes until the discomfort passes, because it will. Just don't fight with it. Just sit with it. So be like, okay, I have that feeling, but you know what? I got power over this. I'm cool. I can do something else for now. And then it'll go away and you'll be fine.
Wow. That's worth its weight in gold right there.
Yeah, it's like the Jack Sparrow thing of like, oh yeah, I have those moments all the time. I like to wave at them as they pass by.
There it is.
I need to learn how to wave past Instacart and Grubhub as they go by.
Yeah, you just have to sit with the discomfort for a little bit of time.
Wow.
A little bit of discomfort. Mm-hmm.
Did you just come up with that, or is this like one of your mantras? Because
this is like something I tell my nutrition clients all the time.
Sit with your discomfort.
Just sit with it for a little bit, because it's gonna pass. It's gonna go away. Don't fight with it, because if you fight with it, it gets worse.
And don't drown it in alcohol or drugs either.
Yeah, no, that doesn't serve you either. Like if that doesn't, like if when you come down off that high, you don't feel the way you wanted to feel, like it's not in the moment, it's after. You have to be a little forward thinking with this stuff, because I know, like, if I eat fries, it's going to taste really good right now, but an hour from now, I'm going to feel so bad.
Or you're going to want more fries also.
and it's hard to stop. It's hard to stop.
Like 3 orders of fries.
Start. Yeah. That's the other thing for me. It's much easier not to start eating something than to try to stop in the middle. Like if I start on something like fries or chips or something like that, I just keep going because I can't stop. And then I feel horrible. So it's easier for me to be a little uncomfortable and say, yeah, I don't need that, than for me to be like, well, let me just have some and let me have some more. And then I just keep going. And then I'm really uncomfortable,
Right. And it's truth in advertising, though. Like you just said it. It's like that was the marketing for chips, is like you can't
have just one. Yeah.
Once you pop, you can't stop.
Yep.
Oh, they're like telling you, they're like, well, you can't sue us because it's like right there. It's
we told you. We told you. Yeah, exactly. I used to eat 2 pounds of jelly beans in one sitting. I used to buy them in flavors for the office that nobody liked but me, black licorice and cinnamon, and I'd eat the whole thing. I'd eat the whole thing.
Like, so this gives me a thought process. How long have you been vegan? Were you vegan at the time? Because some jelly beans have like gelatin.
I was not vegan at that time, but they weren't. They were jelly bellies, so no gelatin in them, but they had beeswax.
Right. Now, were you obese because of this, or you just always been relatively thin? So your metabolism was like devouring the sugars.
I don't have a huge metabolism. I gain weight really easily, and I'm a very small person, but I also am like constantly moving. So at that time, I was working an overnight job, and I would I lived off of Lakeshore Drive in Chicago, and I used to strap on my rollerblades during the day, and I would skate from the top of Lakeshore Drive to the bottom of Lakeshore Drive. I think it was like 17 and a half miles. I'd do it every day. And I would go and work out, and I was like running around. I was like, I went out dancing. I used to salsa dance all the time. I went out dancing like 5 times a week. Like I burned a lot of calories.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Jeez.
So like, but I wasn't like I wasn't skinny. And I just think that I was kind of in maintenance. I wasn't losing weight. I wasn't gaining weight. I wasn't trying to do either. But I was probably in maintenance, but I would feel terrible after I ate all those jelly beans, and I'd say, I'm never doing it again. I'd do it again the next day. I did it every single day until I was like, one day I was like, I can't do this anymore. I've never been drunk. I've never done a drug. I've never smoked anything. That is as close to an addiction as I've ever had.
Yeah, like, I mean, do you think that sugar has damaged your body somehow, like internally?
I don't think so.
Liver, kidneys, nothing like that? Pancreas?
No, I'm perfect. My doctor's very happy with my health. I don't think so. No.
That's crazy. I just.
It's not like
2 pounds of jelly beans a day.
It's a lot. And that's like 2% of my body weight, you know. But it's not. I mean, it's not like something like tobacco or hard drugs or something where it damages your body. It's just like for that time being, it's not the best thing for you. But if that's the only thing you're eating, yeah, that might do some damage. But that wasn't the only thing I was eating. I was eating nutritious foods. I was also eating 2 pounds of jelly bellies every month. Yeah. Yeah.
All right, kids. So there's the secret: eat healthy and rollerblade 17 miles a day and go dancing, and you can enjoy 2 pounds of jelly beans a day. This has been Sounds
Don't do that.
Thanks for stopping by.
But don't do that.
Yeah. That's insane. I'm just absorbing all this in my head and just trying to like process it, take it from one thing to another. That brings us to another question, and I'm now curious about this is like food in general. Someone asked if you would have like a food truck or a restaurant. Like, have you ever thought about doing food for the public? Or you like I love cooking for myself, but when some jackhole starts complaining about my food, I'm gonna snap.
Yeah.
Or you're like, I want to serve people with my food.
My sister was in catering and did restaurants and stuff, and watching her do that, I would never want to go into that industry. It's soul crushing.
Right. Like
but
being
I
in
do
a band.
enjoy. But for me, being in a band is different because you're like creating from your heart. You may never like make a living at it, but you're creating something that's yours. You know,
Right.
I feel like with food, you're catering to people more, and it's a different. Like with music, like you're creating something from you that you hope makes people feel what you're feeling.
Right.
With food, it's like, I hope you like it. And people are like, this sucks, you suck, go away, I'm writing a bad review. You know, so it's like, I guess musicians get that too. Like if you ever read the comments of Blabbermouth or whatever, don't do that. Don't read the comments of Blabbermouth. It's also soul crushing.
Is Metal Sucks or Metal Injection are our go-to.
Yeah.
Next week on Metal Injection, Melody Schoenfeld talks shit about all the internet websites that support bands.
The all caps title. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Again, it's that power they feel like I can talk down to somebody from my.
People are very brave behind a keyboard. I tell you what.
Sure, keyboard commandos. It's like, let's see you do that face to face. Like, she could take like a car bumper and fold it. Like you can't even fold the magazine you're reading on the toilet. So let's see who's gonna win this contest.
You have to have a very strong like constitution to get through like the comments. You know, I remember I did like a video a long time ago for eHow. I did like a bunch of videos for them on like how to do this exercise, how to do that exercise. And at one point I went back and looked at some of them, and somebody had made a comment on one of them. It was like how to do a push-up or something stupid like that. And it was like some guy just made some comment that was just so random. It was like, she's ugly, but I'd fuck her anyway. What? Why would you write that on a push-up? Like, what are you talking about? And it's such a weird, but then I realized at that time, you know, YouTube used to have both of these. Now it only has this one. It used to have both.
Right.
If you went on YouTube at that time and you went and looked at a kitten video, there would be like 4,000 thumbs down on a kitten video. And so then you're like, okay, it's not me. It's humans suck. Like humans are just bad.
And the majority of male gendered humans are the ones, because you probably got very few females putting that same comment on your push-up.
I never heard that comment from a woman. I will say that.
I'm just guessing. I'm spitballing here. That probably doesn't happen very often. Not that
my
there's
friend
anything wrong
got a
with it,
really,
but it is something wrong.
But I mean, the other day, a friend of mine got a really nasty, like out of the blue, random nasty comment from some woman who was just like, she was like, she does nutrition stuff, and she had a picture of her before and after, and someone's like, "Oh, you got tattoos and a bad haircut. Good for you." Like, what? Why would you say that?
This is a video showing how to like do bicep curls. What, like, it's always has nothing to do with the subject of the video.
Yeah.
But you know, Jack, have you had any negative comments already? Jack's Band 7 Inspired just released a brand new video yesterday. It is amazing.
Congratulations.
Watch it. Architect of Creation. It's this video. Like, before we started, I was just like, can I just sit here and not say anything and like be in amazement of video?
I'm gonna go check it out.
It's just, I have a chance here now to talk to Jack a little bit about the video. Hey, Jack, what was it like making that video? Can you talk about that?
Oh yeah, I mean that
in June.
That one in particular, like the main like cool part of that story. Well, there are two things. The first one is that it was like 1 degree Fahrenheit while we were filming, and we were filming like crawling through the snow, and like our singer was like strapped up on a plank of wood in the freezing, like wind blowing, snow everywhere, like with a lot of like bare skin and stuff, and her hands were painted and all these like fake nails and stuff. And so like it was actually dangerous to the point where in between shots we had to like run and like cover each other from the wind, and like, you know, have all these hand warmers on deck to do this shot. So that was the fun, dangerous part of it. The other part of it that's interesting that I talk about all the time is coming back from that shoot. And before we went to the second day of it, our rental car got broken into and all of our stuff stolen, and the car was gone.
Oh no.
So we almost lost, like, you know, props, gear, like everything. That mask in the video, Zeus, the Soleil mask, gone.
What?
Yeah, so we lost all this stuff, and we had to, like, some of the crew picked up the singer so that she could keep shooting while Pete and I tracked down this car. Like, we had air tags in the gear, and we had you know, like a friend who in Montreal who used to work for the police department. So we were like talking to the cops at the same time that we were tracking down where all this gear went with the air tags. And it worked out that we eventually got all the stuff back except a pair of sunglasses, and they had found the car. It had been basically gutted, and it was going to be sent like on a shipping boat somewhere over to like Morocco or something like that.
Oh my God. Amazing. Did they catch the guys who took it?
I don't know. That's the only thing I don't know, but at least everything's back. But apparently it's like a big deal up there, is like, you know, stealing this particular kind of car, and then they send them overseas for like basically the Taliban used these kind of vehicles just stolen from rental companies.
Wow.
So
that is insane. You know, you'd think the rental company might give you a heads up, be like, hey, this is a problem here. It's probably like a Toyota or a Honda or something that they just typically want. They have chop shops, they strip it and ship it, basically.
Yeah, exactly what it was. But why would they tell us that? You know, like,
well, as a human being, be like, don't leave stuff in these cars. like I generally tell people as rentals, if you're traveling, you just kind of don't ever do that. But specifically when it's known and maybe that particular province, there's a huge problem. Like here, they like DMV or something changed rental tags because rental cars always had a R, so criminals could tell it was a rental. One, it's an out-of-state plate sometimes, but they all started with R's. Now it's not like that anymore. They've changed it up, and you see very little emblems of like Hertz or Avis or Dot Budget. Like they don't put stuff on there because it's like a known thing. You're pointing to the criminals like this is a rental car. It's probably someone traveling or tourist. They probably have cameras, laptops, phones, money, blah, blah, blah in these rentals when you're on vacation. But that's amazing. I had to give props to, it was Montreal, to the Mounties of Montreal.
Amazing.
The Mounties, but
they were on it. And like within a couple
stuff.
hours, they found all of our stuff thrown in a parking lot. And
Wow.
the car was gone. And then a couple hours after that, they found the car and the rest of the stuff. But the people who stole the car, they had no idea what was in it. They had no idea it was valuable. They wanted it out of there because they just wanted the car, So crazy story.
A thoughtful criminal could have left the stuff in the parking lot and took the car, would have saved him saved him $3.
Amazing.
Wow.
Amazing.
Well, I'm glad you got everything. I remember on your Discord and Patreon, y'all had posted like, hey, just letting you guys know this would happen. And it's a good way to communicate with fans and you get to know people personally and what's going on with your favorite artists and creators. No plug for Patreon or Discord, but just saying. But the fact that, a lot of your key equipment, like your guitar is not replaceable. Pete's bass could be replaced, but he's got a lot of sentimental value.
Well, thankfully we had the instruments. That was the only we brought the instruments in because of the temperature outside. But like our in-ear rig, like the whole thing we run the show with was gone.
Crazy. That's just crazy. I mean, people put so much work into being criminals. It's like, well, if you do something legit, you don't have that constant fear of like, I'm going to get in trouble or go to jail or possibly get killed because you do that down here, breaking someone's car, you might get shot. That's just like a normal thing. Maybe not in Canada, but it just baffles me. People always take the most risk, but the path of least resistance to do so many things. What's wrong?
They get paid a lot more that way.
What's wrong with this? I don't know. Yeah, I guess, but wow. So anyway, stage fright's not a thing, and being in front of people is not a thing, and you just kind of, it seems like you've gotten your stuff together, Melody, from all these different events and categories of communities you've been in doing things. Do you have, I'm going to condense a couple things here just to sort of like batten down the hatches. Do you have a favorite dish, a signature dish? Do you have a favorite personal song?
I make really good crock-pot lasagna, and I make really good frittata. I'm super into frittatas right now. Like I make frittatas all the time, and I'm really good at them. Just Egg, best product ever.
Yeah. I'm so glad they got rid of that crappy top that would never come off. Do you remember?
Oh, I know.
But now the milk cartons, they're $10 now. That the bottle used to be
they're not cheap.
Like half price, like $4.99, sometimes $3.99.
They raised the price. Yeah.
I don't know. And I've tried to make the mung bean replacement, and it doesn't
work as well.
It comes out like a pancake. Talk about pancakes. It literally pours flat and it stays flat no matter what you do. It's not.
Yeah.
It doesn't have that texture.
Yeah.
I want to create like I don't use Reddit, but this sounds like something we could do, a subreddit of all the guests here and like start sharing recipes, because everyone that comes on is like I make this amazing thing. It's like, okay, let's consolidate that with what we have.
Totally.
Totally. On the music side, do you have, like I said, a favorite Maiden song you play, or a favorite original?
I love Children of the Band. for me, and I love Children of the Damned. That's my favorite. Love it.
Yeah.
Love it. And for my new band, like of the 2 songs that we put out with my voice, we have a few songs with the other singers from Europe, so I saw them. Of the 2 most recent singles, I think I really like Defiance. That was the first single that we put out because it's really upbeat and like makes you want to jump. But at the same time, when I wrote that song, I hated it. And we didn't finish it until like literally 5 minutes before we were going to record. And I was like, I don't know why anybody would want to hear this song. This is a terrible song. And then as soon as we started recording it, I was like, oh no, this song kind of bangs. Like, so yeah.
Was it the energy, or because you revisited it? Did it suddenly
it
like
was because I went back in and I fixed something that wasn't working, and I was like, oh, that worked. So yeah.
Right
yeah,
on.
like it was literally so last minute, but it sounded so much better.
That's where the dream comes alive, so to speak. It's like you're in that moment. It's like, well, there's something here. I know this is something. Let's like kind of like tweak stuff around. Now your intro video you did for us. Thank you so much for putting that out there for the question. You were in front of a wall of instruments. So someone did ask, like, do you play other instruments? Do you write on guitar, bass, or keys, or what's your other aspirations?
I play a bunch of instruments with varying degrees of mediocrity. So I've been
do podcasts with the same classification. So
I've been playing cello since I was in the 2nd grade. And
that's awesome.
I would be really good at it if I practiced. But that's always kind of been my nemesis, is I play everything by ear. Which is why guitar drives me nuts, because I can't play it by ear. I can't figure it out by ear. So I can play Blackbird really slowly. But that's what I can do on guitar. But everything else is like, I used to be a really good cellist in the second, like up through like middle school, because I played all the time because I had to. I was in orchestra. I was taking lessons. I was like, I had to play all the time, but I was kind of like hearing it and then just playing it, you know? And now I don't have any pressure to practice, so I just don't. And I wish I was that person who would just compel to sit for 8 hours with their instrument. And as much as I love my instruments, I don't have that. And so it's just like every once in a while, I'm like, oh, I should probably play that. And so I hang it on my wall so that it's right there and I can see it, and I pick it up and I play it, and I never freaking do. And so then I started taking lessons for a while. And so I play it during the lesson. And then next lesson, I'd be like, hi, I didn't practice. Let's play again. So
let's play last week's song, because I think I can do that.
Yeah. So it's kind of a bummer. But I play piano by ear. I play cello. I play like a little guitar. I play a little ukulele. I play some harmonica. I started on bagpipes, and that would have been really great if I'd have kept practicing. But there's that. That also requires practice.
Right, like most things of skill that you have to have precision and knowledge of what's going on. Cooking the same way, working out like you do, training, you have to competitively, well, to be competitive, I should say, you have to repeat the practice. Like, I love Jack, people ask them, like, well, what do you do? It's like practice. Practice, you get better, I totally talked myself out of my train of thought where I was going. Sorry about that. Oh, it was really good too. Oh man, it was a great segue to like tie other things together. Got it. Brain, it's kicking in a little bit for Thursday. So there's this super group now, and it's random. But you play cello. You could probably get to the point where you could play, like if you kind of practice a little bit, you could play. Kirsten plays French horn, Rosenberg. Shani Kilman, who's also in the Iron Maidens, was on our last podcast. She plays like saxophone. So like there's all these people that have been on here that have played like the classical orchestral instruments. I'm like, come on, there's got to be a song, Adrian, who's Jack's songwriting partner and singer for Aspires, she plays all crazy key, like, I don't know. She could write anything on a keyboard and you just be like, wow. So like I'm definitely hearing a song. I was like, what do I gotta do to
Yeah. I
get
mean,
y'all to
let's
make a
jam.
song with all these things? Like, I don't know.
I would practice for that. Let's do it. Let's get a project
Yeah,
together. Let's do
I've
it.
been waiting for an excuse to bust out the viola again.
Oh, you play
Do
viola?
it.
I played viola for like a little over 6 years before I
Dude,
ever picked up a guitar. Like,
Amazing.
wow.
yeah,
This okay.
Amazing.
All right. So
I would probably suck at it now, but it's been a lot of
I
years.
I couldn't imagine a stringed instrument besting you at anything, Jack. No, and you wouldn't put it out, just knowing you wouldn't be like, I'm putting it, or you'd be like, this
Yeah,
sucks.
you never
Just
hear
like,
the bad stuff.
right. Oh wow. Okay.
I keep all
Yeah.
the bad stuff at home.
Right. Yeah. It's back there in that little closet behind the second door. The sloth guards the bad stuff.
They've only got 2 or 3 fingers, so the strings don't work.
Right. Right. Yeah. They're playing the one string bass like the presidents of the United States.
Very slowly.
Right.
Sloth doom metal.
Right. It's slothcore.
Slothcore. I
You,
love it. Love it.
the sloths eat bananas. What is their food, Melody? Do you know?
I did know that. I did know the answer to that, and I can't. They eat. I want to say they eat the leaves on the trees, but
It's like
I am
koala,
probably.
sorta.
I'm thinking koalas maybe.
Yeah.
I forget. I know they eat stuff. They definitely eat. I can tell you that, and they poop like once a week.
And they sleep quite a bit as well.
They sleep a lot. They sleep a lot. Yeah.
That's the life. Let's all aspire to be sloth. I'll trade 2 fingers if I can sleep and eat and poop once a week. No
They're
problem
good
there.
little guys. They just hang out.
I've always wanted to be covered in moss.
Oh,
I mean, who doesn't, honestly?
yeah.
Pretty metal if you think about it.
I mean, Swamp Thing is legit. Like, there's superheroes that are mossy guys. So what do you do? Getting towards the end here, Melody, I really appreciate, like, there's so many. I have a list still of like 20 more things we didn't even touch on with you.
Oh, it's all good.
I really appreciate you swinging by, and we got past all the tech stuff.
Yeah.
I'll try to so there's a bunch of stuff here still, questions, but for the most part, people generally want to know like your favorite stuff, like how'd you get inspired, and you've touched on a lot of stuff coming into music
Yeah.
and stuff.
Yeah.
I wanted to introduce a lot more of those people to your health and cooking and physical side of things that also are. I think you're a little more heavy on that community with like health and fitness, but it's still good. It's like people need to know like everything about their favorite artists. Like dig deep, go past Wikipedia and Google and research things. You know, hit up the Amazon and read, like you said, like whatever it is you want to learn about, like read more about it.
Well, read about it, but also check your sources because there's a lot of bad information
Right.
out there, you know.
Sure.
So,
I used to think, well, if it's in a library, like when I was a kid, it's in a library or it's in a book, like that's legit. They're not just going to put out something that's not true in a book and call it nonfiction.
anyone can write a book.
And it's like, I
Anyone can write a
learned
book.
that, you know, later
Yeah.
on, you can write whatever you want. And if someone's willing to
Yeah.
publish it, you know, it's on a shelf somewhere. But what are some of your goals? I know you have this kind of helps sum up some of the stuff here. Do you have a dream band or musician like you'd love to sing or perform in band XYZ is like a guest spot?
Okay, I wanna share the stage with Dave Grohl. Like,
fuck
they're
Dave
very-
Grohl. Ugh, I hate
No,
it.
dude,
He's
there
great.
are
No, he's
very
great.
there
Joke.
there are very few musicians
Joke.
or people in the world who I like would be fangirly over. He's
Fangirl,
one
right?
of them.
Yeah, I'm marking out.
Because
Yeah.
he's a good human. Like, he's a
Oh, yeah.
good dude.
You know what? I just wish he wouldn't do barbecues when he feeds all the people. It's like, man, just
you know,
make the one
I
step
wish-
and don't do that. It's cool that you're doing that, but
No, I mean, I feel you on that, but at the same time, look, you know, not everybody shares
right.
our worldview, and so we have to understand that you know,
Right
and
on.
he's at his base, he's doing something really good for someone else, and he's, you know, he's doing what is within his scope. That's a really good thing to do, and you know what? That's more than most people will do.
Right on.
And
Yeah,
so he's using his powers for good, you know. There's another person who people may not have heard of, and her name is, and I don't know if I say her name right even, but her name is I think it's Taliaferro. I think that's how you say it. She is one of Billy Joel's backup musicians.
Mhm.
She plays everything. She sings everything. She has the best energy. She's so like she is a performance artist, and she is a rock star. And I don't know why she's not out in front, because she's a backup. But I think she has her own project. But I think she's amazing. So those are the two
Right
people
on.
like to me. Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. That's cool. We'll definitely have to check that out. I mean, honestly, I think Billy Joel's doing his like final farewell tour or shows or something. Um,
Uh,
he's one of those guys that's just like, I didn't know he was still out and performing. Like same thing with like Elton John. Like all these guys
oh, I
managed
see
to
Billy
like
Joel every time.
survive like and thrive. And it's like Billy Joel is like the new cult icon, like all these shows and movies coming out. It's like you can almost guarantee there's going to be a Billy Joel reference somewhere in this movie or TV show. It's like, yep, there it is. There's the reference.
I
It's
am a
amazing.
hardcore Billy Joel fan. I've been since I was a little kid. He, to me, is one of the best lyricists out there. Like that man can write a freaking lyrics. He's amazing. I really, he's one of like my musical idols. So if he's in town, I go see him
Right.
every
I
time.
mean, would you be nervous performing with him? Is he on the Dave Grohl level or is he past
Oh,
Dave
I'd
Grohl?
pee myself. I would pee myself. Like if you want to see me publicly pee myself, put me on stage with Billy Joel.
You don't need Billy
I'm
Joel to do that. Just drink a bunch of
This is true.
water.
This is a good point.
It's funny
But like,
that we had a
pee
singer.
myself with purpose.
Yeah, we had a singer when we had a metal band. She was awesome. Her name was Jen Otis. Shout out Jen if you ever see this. She's on the West Coast now. But she was like one of the original singers in my area that did brutal guttural dude type growls at the time, but also sang like operatic. Well, we didn't realize at the time she was pregnant, and neither did she.
Oh.
But every time we did a show, she hits this high C or whatever note, and every single time she'd pee herself. And that's like the memory I have of her as a singer. It's like, hey, remember that? It's like every year if it pops up on my memories, like, hey, that time you peed yourself on stage. It's like, and then she was like, yeah, I was pregnant. I was like,
I enjoy being a girl. Yeah, it's, you know, there you go.
Awesome. Well, Melody, thanks again so much for taking time to chat with us and just educate.
Yeah.
Everybody that's still watching, thank you, because these things can get a little out of control occasionally. Definitely go on your socials and Instagram. It's 5 Foot of Fury 1 is
5FT of Fury 1. Yep.
Yeah.
If you like pictures of animals, this is the website for you.
So it's a .com as well as your Instagram.
No, I'm sorry. I meant the Instagram page. Sorry,
Okay.
my brain.
Well, nobody steal that.
The
'cause it's
Instagram page
hers.
for you.
So don't steal that.
No, my website is flawlessfitness.com. And then of course there's sd17music.com.
Right on. Yeah. Do you have any more books lined up or anything?
You know, I have 3 out. I'm a little booked out at the moment. I'm kind of more focused on trying to get my band touring right now, and then if I have a free second, I might sit down and think about what else I want to write a book on. I don't have anything that I'm like, when I wrote those books, I had a pressing need to get this information out, and I feel like I've gotten out what I wanted to get out with those 3. And I'll probably get something else that'll like pop into my head. But right now I'm like, I'm gonna just relax on that end for a little while.
I definitely, the light bulb went off when you talked about the musicians and what they do to be healthy idea. Like I'm 100% down to clown on that. If you've got like you seriously want to go that route. Because I try to do that with this show a little bit, but I think there's a way to do it where it's not kind of like what's out there. Where they sort of, I feel really bad watching some of these things because the stuff that people eat, it's like you're eating the healthiest, prettiest, nicest. You have mangoes and you have like fresh tofu, truffles, and no bananas, but like these mushrooms that are like cultivated in like hydroponic, and I'm like, that's not legit. I'm sorry, bands that aren't touring on your Learjet level, that's not what they're getting. Like
that's not what you're getting.
It needs to be like, look, man, we're at a Chuck E. at 3, or a Buc-ee's, sorry, a Chuck E. Cheese, or you're at a Buc-ee's at 3 a.m. What's the walkthrough look like after you pass the CB radios of the trucker aisle? Like, what's left for us to get like a more real world thing,
You got to bring stuff with you, honestly, like easy protein sources. There is a brand called Tasty Bite. Now you got to like Indian food, but it's called Tasty Bite. And they have these you don't have to refrigerate them. They're in packets. They're high protein, they're high in nutrition, and they pack easily. And you just take them with you, and you have a relatively healthy meal, that you don't have to do anything with. You will probably want to brush your teeth after because they're spicy and they're, they're strong in the smell department, but they're very tasty and they're good for you. And that's the easiest thing you can bring with you.
Right. Now, can you fly with these? Because apparently we learned last session, you cannot take a can of beans through the TSA. They will not allow that in some instances.
Oh, but, I don't know, because I haven't gone on an airplane with them, so that's a good question. I don't know.
Well, we'd be willing to help facilitate that experiment at some point.
Yeah, I think as long as
checked bag.
Right.
You can put them in a check bag, and if they're under, I think 4 ounces, you can take them on the plane. But I don't think they're under 4 ounces. So
no. Well, something they need to work on. We'll put the links in the bottom. People, I definitely want to check it out. I'm not huge on spicy Indian food, but anything that I might be able to grab,
they're good. They're tasty.
I'll certainly look into it.
Tasty Bite. Yeah.
Awesome.
But they have some that are like a little less in the, like, they're not as spiced, I guess, like as others. Like
heavy.
They have like these they have like protein bowls and stuff. But
hopefully we can get them here, because Virginia is like the graveyard for like new innovative
supermarket. Check the supermarkets, because most supermarkets have them.
Tasty Bite, awesome.
Or you can just get them off their website. I think it's like tastybite.com.
Or Amazon, right?
Amazon for sure.
Awesome. Plug in Amazon. Well, thanks again, Melody. I know I said thanks a lot, but really it's like so awesome to have someone with just your personality and your knowledge and everything just exuding out. I love that you're doing music and doing metal and everything, and educating other people with science, because I could sit here all day and try to convince somebody, but it's like, well, here's someone at science that has like all this education backing what they're saying is great. So
I mean, I think that's the big thing, is like, if you have something to say it, but back it up. Like, don't just like say shit that you've seen on a meme somewhere. Like, back your stuff up with the facts. Don't cherry pick your facts.
Right.
Like, if you're gonna cite a study, read the study, because it may not say what you think it says. So read that study, understand that study, and understand the quality of that study before you put it out.
Awesome.
And it's not just about one study. It's about, can that study be repeated? Is there more than one thing that says that? Because one study can say anything.
Scientific method.
Scientific process.
Yeah. Awesome.
Yeah.
Great advice. Everybody follow this advice and go check out Melody Schoenfeld. Super cool, as you can see from our little session here today. It's certainly been a pleasure. I hope you enjoyed the time together, and
this is really fun.
We got food travels, and also this amazing super group of like orchestral school instruments thing that's going to happen.
Yes, it is.
RDP.
I'm telling you, I will practice for this. You tell me when and where, and it's happening.
we'll make it happen. And I know an excellent producer engineer that'll mix and master everything.
I do love a good engineer.
For a nominal appropriate fee, no less. So Jack, thanks man for hanging out. I'm so glad you're back. It's just not the same. I love having the co-hosts and stuff we've had, but it's just not the same without my bro here standing by and steering the ship where it needs to go. Everybody, please check out all the new stuff. Jack's band Seven Spires has an album coming out. It's Amazeballs. I was lucky enough to hear 3 songs early. They've just been on repeat. It's next level. I said it in a post and I stand behind it. It's changing the genre of the type of music that they're in. It's so good. It's so just what's the word you would use, Jack, to describe it? And I'll shut up.
I wouldn't know where to start. We are making the music that we want to hear, and I hope everybody else likes it too.
Awesome. Can't ask for more than that. So everybody, thanks again for stopping by. Thank my guest Melody and my co-host Jack, the Bard of Shred.
Yes.
I shortened it. We're off the rum a little bit, but this has been Sounds and Grounds. Thank you so much. I hope everyone's entertained and got some education out of it, and we'll see you next time. Stay metal.